All right, good morning, boys and girls. Today we are looking at solving some more complex word problems using equations. We got a new type of word problem today, and that's going to be using perimeter, applying geometry to equations. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at a problem. Perimeter equations are one of these types of equations that contain two or more unknown quantities. Anytime we have more than one unknown quantity, we're going to need to write the problem in terms of that one variable. So first we need to decide which unknown quantity the variable will represent. Then we express the other unknown quantity in terms of that variable. What do I mean by that? Well, if you recall, in the problems we were working on last week, we had some problems where you would need to write, remember the fudge problem? The one about the chocolate fudge and the peanut butter fudge? In that case, we had to say there are X pounds of chocolate fudge. And then we had to say, well, if there's 146 total pounds, well, then the peanut butter fudge would be 146 minus X. That's what I mean by two or more unknown quantities. You've got the chocolate and the peanut butter. One unknown quantity is the variable. So in this case, chocolate is the variable. And then we express the other unknown quantity, peanut butter, in terms of that variable. We're going to be continuing to apply the same ideas here today. All right, so let me erase this real quick. Let's take a look at this problem. As you know already, it's going to do with perimeter. It says, the length of a rectangle is 6 inches more than its width. The perimeter of the rectangle is 24 inches. What is the length of the rectangle? So let's start by writing out the perimeter of a rectangular's formula. If you recall, when you have a rectangle, we typically discuss the length and the width of that rectangle. So when looking at the perimeter, we are dealing with 4 sides, the distance around. So the perimeter of a rectangle is often thought of as L plus W plus W. And we simplify that by combining like terms to be 2L plus 2W. Now, you can solve these problems using either the first or the second formula. It'll work either way. I'll do the first problem using the first formula. Okay, so we need to decide which variable we're going to use. Let's organize the information that we have. All right, we've got the length of a rectangle is 6 inches more than its width. I'm going to write that in an equation so it's nice, neat, and organized. The length is 6 inches more than, so addition, the width. And then we also have the perimeter of the rectangle is 24, so P equals 24. All right, so W is the width and L is the length. So what I can do using this formula, remember we're going to use that first one, so I'll erase the second one so it's not in our way. All right, so I've got P. I know what P is. P is 24. So instead of P, I can write 24. So 24 equals. All right. L plus L. I know what L is. L is 6 plus W. So instead of both L's, I'm going to write 6 plus W. So I got 6 plus W. And then again, for the second L, 6 plus W. All right, let's keep going. I need then to add plus W. I can do that. And now you see the equation that we have written has all one variable. So this is something that we can solve. We can figure out what W is. We have written our unknown quantities in terms of the width. So let's go ahead and try to solve this. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to combine like terms. So we're going to get 24 equals 6 and 6 is 12, plus we've got 1W, 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 and 1W, so that's 4W. Keep going here. We're going to subtract 12 from both sides. That'll give me 12 equals 4W. And then I'm going to divide both sides by 4. And I get a final answer of W equals 3. What does that mean? Well, W was the width, so the width is 3 inches. Let's go back and check the question, make sure we answered it. It says, what is the length of the rectangle? Uh-oh, we found the width. So how do I find the length? I'm going to use this formula here that I wrote at the very beginning. The length is 3 plus 6. Length is 3 plus 6. 3 being the width. That's what we substituted in instead of W. And 6 because it's 6 more than its width. So the length then is 9. The length is 9 inches. Nice job, guys. All right, let's take a look at this next problem here. I got another example for you. All right, let's see. The width of a rectangle is 2 centimeters less than its length. The perimeter of the rectangle is 16 centimeters. What is the length of the rectangle? All right, as promised, we're going to use a different perimeter formula this time. We're going to use the simplified version. Perimeter equals 2L plus 2W. And that first sentence here, we got 2 centimeters less than, we got 16 centimeters is the perimeter. And remember, we're trying to find the length of the rectangle. All right, so I can add to this the width is 2 centimeters less than its length. Remember, there's that word less than, so it's not 2 minus L, it's L minus 2. And then we've got the perimeter, which equals 16. So, as I plug into my problem, I know that P can be plugged in as 16. So 16 equals, and W equals L minus 2. So instead of W, I'll write L minus 2. So that gives me 16 equals 2L plus 2L minus 2. And now I can solve. In order to solve this, all right, so we're solving this equation. The first thing we have to do is distribute. So that gives us 16 equals 2L plus 2L minus 4. And then we're going to want to do some combine like terms. We've got 2L and 2L, and they're on the same side, so I just have to add them together. I don't have to do any opposite operations. So this is 16 equals 4L minus 4. And then we're just isolating the variable. So we're going to add 4 to both sides, and that'll give us 20 equals 4L. And then we can divide both sides by 4, and we find that L equals 5. Is that what we were trying to find? Yes, the length of the rectangle. So the length is 5 centimeters. If we wanted to find the width, how would we do that? Well, we'd have to go back to our original equations and find the one that tells us about width. And width is L minus 2. So the width would be 3. Now, that's just an extra tidbit of information. This question didn't ask specifically about that, but you get the idea. All right, so your homework then, ladies and gentlemen. 4 problems, very similar. Good luck, and we'll see you tomorrow.